Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is mucking fun day. That's okay, because we're going to tell you everything that's happened today and over the weekend to distract you from all the worries of Monday brings. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of planet Earth, where we look at the news 10 to 15 minutes before we start without any caffeine in our bodies. So, let's check out those headlines. What are we talking? I'm talking about a lot of things today. Today on Before Coffee, researchers photograph micro monster organism living in Loch Ness, while Lily Allen says she has received death threats after revealing she gave up a pandemic puppy.
The French police have arrested the founder of Telegram.
People adopt anti-establishment attitudes when they feel threatened, a study suggests, while the Schengen zone is tightening its borders.
And China produces water from moon soil. And we look at America and our dangerous heat wave coming this week and our hot planet.
Finally, in culture news, horror films were reviled as one step up from pornography. Now the genre is a force to be reckoned with.
And it's National Dog Day, so every dog has its day, and every dog's day is today, August 26, 2024, on Before Coffee.
Okie dokie, artichokey. We're here with our first news story, which is a short one about a micro monster in Loch Ness. That's right, researchers. This is from the Herald Scotland by Jodie Harrison. Researchers are using cutting-edge tools to better understand the ecosystem of Scotland's most famous loch. The Loch Ness Centre has joined forces with academics based at the School of Engineering at the University of Aberdeen for a project that says is a significant step towards scientific exploration. They're really gonna try to find that like magical monster that the wizards are trying to keep secret, you know. At least that's what supposedly Harry Potter says, that the Loch Ness monster is just the most publicly sought after magical creature. The team deployed a state-of-the-art holographic camera to look at many microscopic organisms that inhabit the body of water. Dubbed the Wee Holocam, so Scottish. The technology is capable of I can't do a Scottish accent. The technology is capable of producing several thousand digital holographic images of microscopic marine organisms in one dive and uses the latest in AI techniques to classify the images. The Wee Holocam has never been before used on Loch Ness, and after its initial dive captured incredible images of what looked like micro monsters, but in fact plankton particles. Thang Gavel Thevar of the University of Aberdeen said, "This was a unique opportunity for us to deploy the Wee Holocam into fresh water, and it has previously only been used in ocean salt water. We were curious as to what the water quality could be like, especially at lower depths, as we know that too much peat could obstruct the recording path of the instrument. We lowered the camera to around 200 meters and were able to see a lot of interesting particles which, by working with biologists, should be able to give us more information about the biodiversity of Loch Ness." Nagina Ishak, general manager of the Loch Ness Centre, said, "At the centre we present the whole story about the Loch Ness, the science and the myths, and as part of the ongoing efforts we want to encourage researchers to come here and find out more about what is in the loch, because there's so much we don't know." One of the applications was from the University of Aberdeen, using the Wee Holocam, and it really jumped out as something we want to pursue. It's been really exciting to have the team here, and we look forward to working with them further as they study the Loch Ness and on microbial level and see what can be learned. This year marks 90 years since Sir Edward Mountain and his team of 20 explorers became the first watchers of the fabled Loch Ness monster that is said to inhabit the water. I think at this point it might have died. If the Loch Ness monster might have died and just sunk to the bottom and it's being eaten by crabs or something. The new project follows the Loch Ness Centre's latest giant search of the water as it continues in its pursuit of uncovering The lock's mysteries. Well, you could always drain it and see what's in there, you know? I know that would be awful.
Yeah.
But you could really just... Oh, there's nothing in there.
Kill all the fish.
Yeah.
Kill all the
you could
fish.
drain them.
If
You
you're
could put them somewhere
curious.
else. You could have one of those tubes that just puts them, you know, put them in an aquarium.
Yeah, but you don't want that mystery solved.
Yeah, that's one of the tourism aspects of the Loch Ness. As part of the recent search, a hydrophone was used to listen for mysterious sounds echoing from the depths of the loch. Alan McKenna from Loch Ness Exploration captured unique noises using the hydrophone to be analysed, describing it as pulsing sound that lasted about 10 seconds. So there's your story coming out of Scotland, the Loch Ness. And since it is Dogs Day, let's talk about dogs. And I guess returning them after they've gone too old. I think this is what Lily Allen is getting hate for probably on social media, and I guess people are sending your death threats. This is by Angela Yang on NBC News. Lily Allen is defending herself online amid controversy sparked by her recent comments about having returned an adopted dog after it ate her family's passports. I have been accused of mistreating an animal, and I found this whole week very distressing, Allen, the English singer-songwriter, wrote in her Instagram stories on Sunday, which was the 25th of August. Allen's stressful week stemmed from an episode of her podcast, Miss Me, on Thursday, which was, here we go, what was Thursday's date? The 22nd of August, when she revealed that she had adopted a dog during the COVID-19 pandemic, but then it ate my passport, so I took her back to the home. Allen's revelation generated some backlash online as publications ran articles about her comments, prompting her to post an Instagram statement yesterday on the 25th, lambasting internet users' reactions as deliberately distorted cobbling together of quotes designed to make people angry. Yes, that is indeed what most social media news does. Hey, you should be angry about this! Hurry, give us all your time! Spend 50 hours on Twitter, please! She had mentioned on the podcast that the pup, Mary, was a very badly behaved dog, and I really tried very hard with her, but it just didn't work out. The passports was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. In her Instagram stories on the 25th, she pointed out to that as a detail many tabloids hadn't quoted in their articles. Yeah, because that would require you to think ahead and use your brain, or you could just get angry. Ugh!
Let's not do that.
I'm actually angry, if we want to talk about getting angry at things. I'm angry about people sending death threats to people for doing what they thought was best in the situation. Hey, you need to keep that dog even if it eats your family, because sending a dog back to the whatever, the doghouse.
They start putting people in prison for death threats for like 10 years.
Yeah, there is actually laws against it. I think in Germany you can actually say, I'm reporting these people for violence, instigating violence online, and they can go to your house.
There's laws against it everywhere.
Yeah.
but
they actually need to put them in jail for
prison for 10 years doesn't exist.
Yeah. I've received many abhorrent messages, including death threats. Some of the most disgusting comments have been over my social media channels. I'm really not surprised, because it's exactly what those articles are designed to do, Allen wrote. I'm okay, but it has been a really rough few days that's impacted me and my family. The story originally came up when she told guest podcast host Steve Jones, a Welsh TV presenter, that her family might adopt a Chihuahua mixed puppy. She then told him about Mary after Jones asked whether she felt ready for the commitment of getting a dog with her husband. Stranger Things star David Harbour also, wait, why does that just say that? It just says that at the end of the thing. Oh, she's married to David Harbour. Okay, with her husband, Stranger Things star David Harbour. Okay. Sorry. The article was fragmented in a way that was just like a line by itself. So she's married to David Harbour from Stranger Things, which we both know because we were reacting to that. But they've already had a puppy. The pup ate her passport, as well as those of her two daughters, Ethel, 12, and Marnie, 11, whom she shares with her ex-husband, Sam Cooper, which features in a lot of her songs, actually. Replacing them was an absolute logistical nightmare, she said, causing her kids to delay visiting their father in England for 4 or 5 months. I just couldn't look at her. I was like, you ruined my life, she added with a laugh. That's what you call a British snark. She's not being real there, guys. For all those people who are sending your death threats. Alan wrote the dog couldn't be left alone for more than 10 minutes at a time and that her family worked with a behavioral specialist from the shelter who would dog sit Mary when they were away. She added that after many months and much deliberation, everyone was in agreement, including the behavioral specialist from the shelter, by the way, that our home wasn't the best fit for Mary. That the person that she was rehomed with was known to us, and that rehoming happened within 24 hours of her being returned. We couldn't meet Mary's needs, and happiness and welfare was central to us to making that decision, as difficult as it was, Alan continued. Yeah. God forbid that she didn't just destroy, she just didn't kill a dog because, send it to the kill shelter. It ate my passwords. Of course, she also tagged people of ethical treatment of animals directly, sarcastically thanking the animal rights nonprofit group for adding fuel to the fire. Yeah, thanks for not doing any of your research and screaming on social media that Lily Allen returned her dog to shelter for eating her passport in caps. You can't get a new dog. You can get new passports, but you can't replace the love a dog needs. Yeah, that's all the comments here. Of course, PETA didn't immediately respond to request for comment because they realized they fucked up and that they just started a hate wheel against Lily Allen for no reason because she did that correct thing you're supposed to do when you have a problem dog you just can't help. Like, it's just not working out. Dogs and humans, they're in a relationship, and sometimes relationships don't work out, and what do you have to do? You have to break up. She broke up with her dog, sent her to somebody she already knew who could take care of her better. Literally nothing bad happened here, guys. That's my news story. I know. Stop being angry instantly as soon as you see something that you should be angry at. That first reaction you have to reading a headline should stay in your head. The second reaction should be, wait a minute, let me think about this for a second. I saw this news story on my social media, and all I did is go like this. Oh, Lily Allen gave her dog away because it ate her passports. Oh, it probably had behavioral issues. Oh, wow. Maybe it wasn't a big deal.
Of course, the secret to the internet.
Yeah.
the secret to the internet is, which really isn't a secret, is make your headline clickbaitable, because otherwise nobody's going to click on it. Celebrity murders dog is going to get you clicks.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
She didn't do it.
Doesn't matter if it's true or not.
Yeah, right? Doesn't matter.
My headline I've been seeing for 8 years. This blah 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 destroys Donald Trump. Oh yeah, really? Destroys him? Well, that hasn't happened yet. No matter how many times they write that headline. So why do they keep writing it? Because people click on it. Because we're all stupid. I include myself. We're all stupid. My phone just keeps going on for some stupid reason. Okay. All right. The international police intrigue, I want to call it, if my phone will ever stop doing that.
Somebody's really messaging you, huh? One more? 2 more? It's been 5 so far.
Hopefully that's all of them. All right, French police have arrested the founder of Telegram. This is from theconversation.com. What happens next could change the course of big tech. When Paul Durov arrived in France on this private jet last Saturday, he was greeted by police who promptly arrested him. As the founder of the direct messaging platform Telegram, he was accused of facilitating the widespread crimes committed on it. The following day, a French judge extended Durov's initial period of detention, allowing police to detain him for up to 96 hours.
Wow.
So, yeah. They just said, we're going to torture you for a while, I guess.
Yeah.
Telegram has rejected the allegations against Durov. In a statement, the company said it's absurd to claim that a platform and its owner are responsible for abuse on that platform. The case may have far-reaching international implications, not just for Telegram, but for other global technology giants as well. Born in Russia in 1984, Pavel Durov also has French citizenship. This might explain why he felt free to travel despite his app's role in the Russia-Ukraine war and its widespread use by extremist groups and criminals more generally. Durov stated in an earlier social media site, Durov started an earlier social media site, VKontakte, in 2006, which remains very popular in Russia. However, A dispute with how the new owners of the site were operating it led him to leaving the company in 2014. It was shortly before this that Durov created Telegram. This platform provides both a means for communications and exchange as well as a protection of encryption and makes crimes harder to track and tackle than ever before. But that same protection also enables people to resist authoritarian governments that seek to prevent dissent or protest. Oh, tough shit. Durov also has connections with famed tech figures Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, and enjoys broad support in a vocally libertarian tech community. Libertarian is basically leave us alone, but punish those other people. That's who they are. They're tech bros. They're full of shit.
We're innocent.
Full of shit. We're just trying to make shitloads of money. We're innocent, but all those other people just trying to live everyday lives. They're terrible. Arrest them. But this platform is no stranger to legal challenge, even in his birth country. Pavel Durov is in some ways an odd target for French authorities. Meta's WhatsApp messenger app is also encrypted and boasts 3 times as many users, while X provocations for hate speech and other problematic content are unrepentantly public and increasingly widespread. There was also no suggestion that Durov himself was engaged in making any illegal content. Instead, he's accused of indirectly facilitating illegal content by maintaining the app in the first place. Interesting theory, France. I don't know what your constitution likes, but it seems like you're just trying to punish somebody for just owning the place.
Yeah.
Interesting. However, Durov's unique background might go some ways just why he was taken in. Unlike other major tech players, he lacks U.S. citizenship, so he's in France. Who cares? He hails from a country with a checkered past of internet activity, that's true, and a diminished diplomatic standing globally thanks to its war against Ukraine, also true. His app is large enough to be a global presence, but simultaneously it is not large enough to have the limitless legal resources of major players such as Meta. Combined, these factors make him more accessible target to test the enforcement of expanding regulatory frameworks. Durov's arrest marks another act in the often confusing and contradictory negotiation of how much responsibility platforms shoulder for the content on their sites. These platforms, which include direct messaging platforms such as Telegram and WhatsApp, but also broader services such as those offered by Meta's Facebook and Musk's Twitter/X, operate across the globe. As such, they contain a wide variety of legal environments. That means any restriction put on a platform ultimately affects its services everywhere in the world, complicating and frequently preventing regulation. On one side, there is a push to either hold the platforms responsible for illegal content or to provide details on the users that post it. In Russia, Telegram itself was under pressure to provide names of protesters organizing through its app to protest the war against Ukraine. Conversely, freedom of speech advocates have fought against users being banned from platforms. Meanwhile, political commentators cry foul of being censored for their political views. These contradictions make regulation difficult to craft, and while the platform's global nature make enforcement a daunting challenge. This challenge tends to play in platforms' favor as they can exercise a relatively strong sense of platform sovereignty on how they decide to operate and develop. But these complications can obscure the ways platforms can operate directly as deliberate influencers of public opinion and even publishers of their own content. To take one example, both Google and Facebook took advantage of their central place in the information economy to advertise politically oriented content to resist the development and implementation of Australia's News Media Bargaining Code. Okay. The platform's construction also directly influences what content can appear and what content is recommended, and hate speech can mark an opportunity for clicks and screen time. Now, pressure is increasing to hold platforms responsible for how they moderate their users and content. In Europe, recent regulations such as the Media Freedom Act aims to prevent platforms from arbitrarily deleting or banning news producers in their content, while the Digital Services Act requires that these platforms provide mechanisms for removing illegal material. Australia has its own Online Safety Act prevent harms through platforms, and though the recent case involving X reveals that its capacity may be quite limited. Future implications. Durov is currently only being detained, and it remains to be seen what, if anything, will happen to him in coming days. But if he is charged and successfully prosecuted, it could lay the groundwork for France to take wider actions against not only tech platforms, but also their owners. It could also embolden nations around the world, in the West and beyond, to undertake their own investigations. In turn, it may also make tech platforms think far more seriously about the criminal content they host. So France hasn't even decided to charge this dude with anything. They're just detaining him. Well, we'll think of something. Ollie, give us 96 hours. We'll think of something. Come on. Now, go away. Back to you.
Okay, we'll think of something. Now, that's definitely a problem in France. They are notorious for not being very great with freedoms. I think famously there was, I can't remember what it was, but it was a very famous case where this American was, I think we talked about it before on the show. This American got framed for like a murder, and she just couldn't get out, and her father had to go all the way there to even get her a defense, do anything. She was basically stuck in limbo. What are you laughing about?
Yeah. Because there's no details. I'm trying to remember it. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I think it's a film. I watched the film about it. There was like a biopic film about it. But the point is, she was framed for like a death because she was like the only person related to the murder of like her roommate, and she doesn't know French, or she didn't know French well enough. So she was just stuck in limbo of being in jail. Her father had to go all the way to France, and it was just hitting red tape after red tape after red tape, bureaucracy all over the place, trying to get any sort of what he was used to as an American, freedoms for his daughter, like for a defense or anything. Yeah. But France is definitely very famous for this.
French tape, let's call it.
Yeah. In our next news, let's talk about the Schengen Zone, which is the open borders between EU countries, and some other non-EU countries like Switzerland are also in the zone, where you don't have any borders. You could just walk across all the way from France to I think Czechia is in the Schengen zone. But unfortunately, because of anti-immigrant sentiment and other things, those borders are starting to be more internal than external. This is by Nicholas J. Kudmeyer on Eurocitive. Europe's free travel zone, otherwise known as the Schengen area, is increasingly being punctured by border controls as many EU countries opt to tighten their internal borders. Signed in 1985, coming into force in 1995, the Schengen area is considered one of the bloc's biggest benefits, allowing people to travel between member states without undergoing a single passport check. With 29 members, the latest round of expansion took place on the 31st of March with the accession of Romania and Bulgaria. Oh, I'm sorry. Romania and Bulgaria are the farthest, I think, east you can go. Limited to aerial and maritime border crosses. While the European Commission spokesperson was clear that border checks must remain exceptional, strictly limited in time, and a measure of last resort, if a serious threat to public policy or internal security has been established, the enthusiasm EU members for border controls and anathema to the project is increasing. A growing number no longer want to use border controls as short-term, last resort measures that Schengen originally intended them to be. What began as localized long-term border controls in Bavaria has now expanded into a nationwide policy across Germany. The country, once a staunch advocate for open borders and a founding member of the Schengen area, is increasingly tightening its national borders. What, towards the Netherlands? Watch out, those Dutchies are coming. Close the borders! I'm guessing it's to the east. They're scared of Russia or something. For me, border control will remain as long as necessary, said Nancy Faeser, the German Minister of Interior, SPD and SND, while visiting the Polish border in early August. Their border with Poland. Okay, here we go. Well, I think Poland should be happy about that. It wouldn't be the first time Germans just walked in and said hello. Buoyed by the initial success of border checks, but put in place During the 2024 Euros, the leadership of the Germany Conservatives, SDU-SU and EPP, Friedrich Merz, opinion that border controls must stay. The Socialist, SPD and SND, and such a right are now in agreement. Expert observers note a clear trend toward more and longer-lasting border checks among the EU's key members. In Germany, politicians do not challenge the assumptions that border controls are something positive anymore, explains Daniel Time, a EU law scholar at the University of Constance. The country's newfound enthusiasm adds to the trend that started in 2011, when French President Nicolas Sarkozy campaigned for the Schengen reform, threatening to leave the free travel area. The Schengen Agreement can no longer respond to the gravity of the situation, he said in 2012, following a squabble with his Italian counterpart the previous year. Islamic attacks on satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo and Bataclan massacre in 2015 led France to continue border checks for national security reasons with renewed zeal. Yeah, I can't blame them for that. That's crazy. Like, France got attacked so many different ways. France has an uncontested border controls for years, Time told Eurocitiv. He added that other countries are taking similar actions. For example, Austria previously ignored a 2022 judgment by the European Court of Justice regarding the illegality of its border controls. Slovenia put controls on its borders with Croatia and Hungary. Italy, its western neighbor, is conducting checks on all borders. Well, Italy is also currently under like a far-right anti-immigrant leader. So yeah, she's not exactly open borders, is she? Meanwhile, Sweden has clamped down on free travel for people from Denmark, capital Copenhagen. Wait, not the Danes! The Danes are coming! Close the border! Some EU countries said migrational pressure necessitates border controls. Sweden is worried about organized crime moving from its south. We need intensive border controls more than ever for security and migration policy reasons, explained Bavaria's Minister of the Interior, Joachim Herrmann, via the German press agency DPA. As a consequence, Europe is increasingly split along long-term border controls that spans from the Baltic Sea to the Adriatic Sea, Eurocitiv's research shows. So, yeah, the non-systematic border controls are, of course, Norway and Sweden, as well as some at Denmark and Germany, and then, of course, France, the Netherlands, and Belgium, and Germany. That's like a non-systematic border control, and then France, and I don't even know why Spain and France has a non-systematic border. There's a mountain there, I believe, but I guess southern France is on the other side of that mountain. they have a geographical border, but the systematic checks are between Germany and Poland, actually Germany and the entire east side. They even have a closed border between Austria. Switzerland has actually no closed borders, so everyone can just freely walk into Switzerland, but for some reason everyone else that isn't Switzerland, like Austria's whole border is closed towards all their neighbors, and so is whatever country this is that I can't see. It just says closed border when I try to put my mouse over it. My geography is not good. I will Serbia, I think. Yeah, Serbia.
What's next? Austria? Oh.
So, the Commission and the Schengen Coordinator are working closely and regularly meeting with all member states that currently have internal border controls in place, said a spokesperson for the European Commission. Faced with a surge in border controls, Brussels has been at pains to convince EU countries to consider possible alternatives to, like, targeted police controls to address security concerns, without resorting to the reintroduction of internal border controls, they added. Time is skeptical that Brussels' approach will work, given the complexity of challenges they must address. As issues like migration increase insecurities, EU countries who do not have a good solution to many of these challenges use the symbolism of border controls to do a kind of theatrical spectacle. That's also why the Commission idea of having these alternatives to border controls will probably not be very effective, he adds. And I think this next article about anti-establishment is an interesting, let's say the EU is the establishment, the Schengen zone is the establishment, and as more European countries are feeling threatened by outside forces like Russia or, I guess, Muslim terrorists or whatever you want to say, whatever the demagogues are saying to develop the fear. Not only are people becoming more anti-establishment, but also the people in the establishment are being more anti-establishment. Eurosceptics, we call them. This is from SciPost by Vladimir Hedrith. A series of 4 studies confirmed a link between feeling threatened and anti-establishment attitudes. The type of threat is questioned was not important. Yeah, it doesn't matter how threatening it is as long as you feel threatened. As both realistic and symbolic threats predict anti-establishment attitudes, the researchers published in Cognition and Emotion. Many people feel threatened by ongoing developments in their societies. They may feel threatened by current political ideologies, economic developments, military conflicts their societies engage in, or by more complex developments. Economic changes driven by climate change, for example. As a result, they may develop negative sentiments towards the current situation in their society and develop anti-establishment attitudes. Everything sucks, so I blame everything. I don't trust anything at all because everything sucks. Anti-establishment attitudes are belief and sentiment that oppose or reject the existing political, social, and economic systems and the authorities that uphold them. Individuals with anti-establishment views may advocate for significant reforms, radical changes, or even the complete overthrow of current systems. Such attitudes can manifest in various forms, from peaceful protest to more extreme actions like rebellion and revolution. Study author David Abadi and his colleagues focused on 2 types of anti-establishment attitudes: conspiracy beliefs and populist attitudes. Conspiracy beliefs are convictions that powerful, secretive groups or individuals are manipulating events and information for their own benefit, typically at the expense of the general public. Populist attitudes emphasize the idea of the people versus the elite, advocating for the rights and power of ordinary citizens against perceived corrupt or out-of-touch elites. The author notes that anti-establishment attitudes are rooted in people's anxiety. They sought to determine which types of threats are most important to predicting these anti-establishment attitudes. Are these realistic threats? Threats to personal economic status, financial resources, or well-being, or symbolic threats? Threats to one's system of values, cultural identity, or way of life, or both? They conducted a series of 4 studies to find out. The first study focused on 2 realistic threats stemming from COVID-19 pandemic: the fear of contracting the virus, a health threat, and the fear of the pandemic's implications for the economy and public safety, societal threats. So those are real threats and more symbolic threats. They analyzed data from a large-scale study in the Netherlands. One set of data came with 9,033 people who responded in April 2020 to questions about how worried they felt about the 2 mentioned types of threats and who completed a conspiracy mentality assessment. 6 months later, 5,745 of these individuals completed an assessment of populist attitudes. Study 2 analyzed the data from a large-scale online panel conducted in 13 EU countries, involving over 70,000 participants. This study yielded similar data, but distinguished between symbolic and realistic threats, a fear of losing national culture and identity versus a fear of losing one's job. In addition to assessments similar to Study 1, this study also included an assessment of political ideology. Study 3 included 8,059 participants, as was similar to Study 2 in design and the multinational structure of participants. Study 4 increased the number of threats to 4, with responses coming from participants in Germany, the Netherlands, Spain, and the UK. Study 1 showed that societal threats to the economy and society from COVID-19, predicted both populist attitudes and conspiracy mentality, but the health threat used in the study did not. In other words, those perceiving a higher threat to the economy and society from COVID-19 tended to report stronger anti-establishment attitudes. However, the fear of personally contracting COVID-19 was not associated with either of the 2 anti-establishment attitudes. However, in contrast, the result from Study 2, which was the Euro-wide study with, 70,000 people, showed that both symbolic and realistic threats predicted both populist attitudes and conspiracy mentality. Additionally, women, less educated individuals, and those with left-wing views tended to have a stronger anti-establishment attitudes of both types. Wait, you're telling me left-wing, which can go all the way to wait, I lost the word. The word was in her mouth, and then when I tried to say it, the word disappeared. The anti-establishment people are like left-wing. It's far left. That's them. The anarchists. Anarchists, that's the word.
Depends on what the establishment is.
Yeah, but I'm just saying famously, the far left is anarchism. That's just how the ruler is, right? You've got fascism on the far right and anarchism on the far left. That's how the political whatever sides work. I need some water. Study 3 confirmed that main findings, both symbolic and realistic threats, predicted anti-establishment attitudes. However, in this study, education and gender were not associated with anti-establishment attitudes, but such attitudes tend to be somewhat stronger in older participants. And finally, Study 4 differentiated between 4 types of threats: health threats, the effect of the coronavirus; climate threats, how likely do you think it is that there will be food scarcity in your country; and economic threats and symbolic threats, threats to traditions due to immigration. Results showed that individuals feeling greater anxiety due to the effects of COVID-19, the health threat, and feeling a threat to their economic status tended to have a stronger populist attitude. Not only might I die, but also I'm going to lose all my money. On the other hand, individuals reporting high levels of anxiety due to climate threats and economic threats, but not health threats, tended to have higher level of conspiracy mentality. There's no way the economy and the climate is also in shambles. It's a conspiracy against me. In conclusion, the current data shows that both realistic and symbolic threats predict anti-establishment attitudes and therefore support the idea that generalized feelings of anxiety predict anti-establishment sentiments, relatively independent of what has caused these feelings, the study authors concludes. The study sheds light on the association between feelings of threat and anti-establishment sentiments. However, it should be noted that all 4 studies were based solely on self-report, leaving room for a reporting bias to affect the results. Additionally, the design of these studies does not allow for cause and effect interferences to be derived from the results. The study, Anti-Establishment Sentiments, Realistic and Symbolic Threat Appraisals Predict Populist Attitudes and Conspiracy Mentality, was authored by David Abadi, Jan William van Poyen, and Andre Quaule and Anjita H. Fisher. And you can find that if you want to read the whole study on cognition and emotion, where it was published. So there is your news on how our societies are affected by anxiety. And that's why I like to keep a cool and chill attitude and not worry too much about things I can't control. Because the more anxious you get, the more you get they control you, right? Don't be a sheep. Don't let them. But seriously, if they use your fear against you, I don't know who they are. I'm being populist right now, but some people use it against you. And you need to be worried about that. You need to calm down, take time, and don't let anxiety take you over.
Okay.
On to your story.
All right, chill out, everybody. Here's a story from BGR.com. Chris Smith at BGR.com. I'm not sure what BGR stands for, but China produced a large quantities of water using the moon's soil. That's right. There's water on the moon. The moon is a key piece of a space exploration puzzle. One of our next objectives is to visit Earth's satellite and establish a permanent base. The moon can also offer access to various resources, including ways to create water and fuel in space. Water is a crucial element of life. In space, exploration hinges on the ability to recycle or produce water in space. We won't get to Mars and beyond without reliably producing enough water for the entire crew. Researchers from China, why we want to go to Mars? No idea, still don't know. Researchers from China might have made a big step towards setting up a permanent mission to the moon. They turned lunar soil into large quantities of water using the soil that the 2020 Change E5 mission brought back from the moon from their experiments. According to China's state broadcaster CCTV, researchers from this is, I guess, Reuters, maybe? I don't know. Researchers from the Chinese Academy of Sciences discovered that minerals in the lunar soil contain large amounts of hydrogen. Heated to very high temperatures, the soil reacts to other elements. The chemical reaction produces water vapor that can be collected. The scientists say they can produce about 51 to 76 kilograms of water. Oh, that's just 112 to 168 pounds, by the way. That's more than 100 milliliters or bottles of That's more than 150 milliliter bottles of water. That's 150 mil, 100, 500 milliliter bottles of water. Thank you. And it might be enough to cover the daily drinking water consumption of 50 people. According to most recommendations, humans need to drink at least 2 liters of water per day. It's unclear whether 1 ton of lunar soil would be enough. We get water from food sources, but those also need water for processing. Also, it's unclear what sort of energy is required to produce water or what other elements are used to create the chemical reactions that make the water vapors. These are key details for turning the water creation process into a process that can be easily reproduced on the moon and other places. As Reuters points out, the US and China are in a race to conquer the moon and its resources, and China wants to set up a moon base station by 2035. A decade later, China plans to deploy a space station around the moon. Either project would need substantial water sources, whether reclaimed water or water produced using the brand new method those Chinese researchers have discovered. Finding or creating water in space would also be a key mission objective for manufacturing the hydrogen rocket fuel we need to reach Mars and other destinations. If China's method works as described, scientists might be able to turn lunar soil into rocket fuel. That's just speculation, however. More research will probably follow. The researchers used lunar soil from the near side of the moon for this water experiment. China also explored the far side of the moon with the Changes E6 mission. It brought back more samples of lunar soil that's always facing away from the Earth. So, from the cold moon to the hot Earth, we're going to talk about this week's heat wave hitting the United States. It's been nice last couple of days, but I guess I can't get used to it. Fall isn't here yet. This is from the New York Times, who I don't know, I clicked on them, even though other headline writers need to have their thumbs removed or something. They're slanderous headlines. It just, hey, let's pick one side and stick with it. We're going to prove we're not slanted one way by slanting the other way completely, right?
Well, then the New York Times is a central or centered reporting, so. That's
They're practicing access journalism.
I only like all these articles I pull off. I only pull articles off of left-leaning news sources. So, because I'm left-leaning, I'm not a center. I'm not center whatsoever. So I never report off center stuff.
I only click on headlines. I only click on headlines in our clickbait, which is really hard to do, right? Because they're all just, oh my god. And again, what New York Times is practicing is Trump is a story, and they just want the story. They don't care if they report the news. Plain and simple. They just embellish it any way they want to slant the story. Like, we're all supposed to care about RFK Jr. endorsing Trump. I don't care. It doesn't even affect anything at all. He's not popular. Nobody's voting for him. Who gives a shit? He's nuts. He's crazy. But they want us to know about it every single day. Why? It's just not affect anything. RFK Jr. called Harris and said, hey, I'll support you if I blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, thanks. We don't want your endorsement. Goodbye.
We don't need your support.
Don't call
Thank
back.
you. You're psycho.
Don't call back. You're too weird. Go away. Right? Trump's like,
yeah,
bring him as a candidate.
No
the guy who left a bear in Central Park, we don't want your endorsement. Thank you very much. It's so wrong on so many levels.
I mean,
we can't
the
even
really
start.
messed up thing about the American political whatever environment is that because of Trump and whatever happened in 2016, because of all of that, people who are weird and would usually destroy your political career being associated with were no longer, like, that wasn't a thing for a while. So now the Democrats are trying to bring back the idea that, oh, we don't associate with you because our reputation matters, right? Hey, what about that reputation we all care about? Suddenly we care again,
They just want clicks now.
For 8 years, people were like, reputation, what's that? I can just do whatever I want because I exist. Yeah.
In the old days, having shitty headlines, it wouldn't matter so much because the paper just got dumped at your door, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't go, I don't want the paper. You pick up the paper, don't pick up the paper. They don't give a shit. Nowadays, they want clicks. Who cares about the story?
Reputation means nothing.
Who cares about journalism?
So many things.
Anyway, back to the weather. Yeah. We're talking about the weather. High heat and humidity could make it feel like, this is from Sarah Ruberg of New York Times. We'll give her credit because she's a weather reporter. It's really hard to slant the weather, but we'll see. High humidity can make it feel like 115 degrees Fahrenheit in parts of the country this week.
Yep.
Forecasters warn that dangerous heat and humidity will spread across the central and eastern United States this week, threatening to break records for high temperatures and ending a spell of fall-like weather. Oh, it was so nice last week. The heat will bring unseasonably hot temperatures to the upper Midwest and Mid-Atlantic. That's where I live. Said David Roth, a meteorologist at Weather Prediction Center. The extreme heat and humidity can make it feel like 105 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit in parts of the country. In some places in the Midwest, it could be the hottest temperatures they've seen all summer, Mr. Roth said. Not only is it late, it's the hottest too, so that's a little unusual. The heat is expected to build in the Midwest through Tuesday, then move to the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast by the middle of the week. Temperatures will break 90 degrees and near 100 degrees in many cases in the Midwest. Columbus, Ohio, and Chicago are expected to reach a high of 95 on Monday. Excuse me. Louisville, Kentucky is expected to hit a high of 99 on Wednesday and Thursday, while Washington could register 100 on Wednesday. There will be little relief at night as temperatures are expected to drop only into the 70s in the central and southern states. Excessive heat warnings were in effect on Monday for parts of eastern Iowa as the heat index, which measures how it feels outside, is expected to break 100 degrees. Alexis Jimenez, a meteorologist at the National Weather Service office in Des Moines, said temperatures are usually in the 80s at this time of the year. Excessive heat warnings are issued within 12 hours of extremely hot conditions. The daytime heat index feels like 105 for at least 2 days, and low temperatures does not drop below 75. As of Monday morning, more than 13 million people, mostly in the Midwest, were under excessive heat warnings. In Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which is about 90 minutes east of Minneapolis, the average high temperature for August 26th is 79 degrees, but it's predicted to be in the 90s on Monday, Mr. Roth said. Forecasters anticipate a cold front that will follow the high heat, bringing relief days after the scorching start of the week. Several heat waves have enveloped parts of the United States this summer, intensifying hot southern climates. Mr. Roth said temperatures on Sunday were over 100 degrees in Emerald, Texas for the 10th day in a row, its longest streak on record. Sunday was also the 91st consecutive day of 100-degree temperatures or higher in Phoenix. The previous record was 76 set in 1993. Thousands of Americans die from heat-related illness every year, though it's difficult to track how many. The Weather Service recommends that people stay out of the sun or heat as much as possible and drink plenty of water to avoid heat illness. This past June was the hottest June on record globally, and July was the second hottest July, just behind last year's July. So July was a little bit of a cooling trend, but fortunately, the days are getting shorter, so the sun won't be out as long as it was in June. But there's your heat index report. I did send you a video. I hope you got it. But there's your story.
I did get it.
Back to you.
Okay. Right, let's go ahead and cover our culture segment here. This is going to be about horror films. Originally considered the not the best genre, kind of a cheap genre. Anyone can make a horror film. But now it's getting higher up. I've never been a fan of horror myself, but I know there's a lot of horror fans out there. This is from Ann Bilson on The Guardian. Brat Summer is yesterday's news. Brace yourself for Horror Autumn, which offers something for everyone. Like it elevated? Try Red Rooms, in which Canadian model becomes obsessed with a serial killer on trial for torturing women to death on the dark web. Partial to French feminist auteur extremism? Look no further than Coralie Fargay's The Substance, with Demi Moore as an aging actor who subjects herself to a sort of body horror usually associated with early David Cronenberg, then with the star of Ghost. Enjoy Hugh Grant's villain in Paddington 2? Watch him repurpose his malicious charm to more sinister effect in Heretic, written and directed by A Quiet Place scribes Scott Beck and Brian Woods. Horror is the little genre that could. While 2024's tentpole releases were struggling, before the summer's double whammy of Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine, horror never stopped plugging away, week after week, mostly under the critical radar. Films such as Immaculate and Abigail reaped healthy returns, while Oz Perkins' breakthrough hit Longlegs has made almost 10 times its budget. Horror doesn't require lavish spending or costly stars, and its loyal fans will happily turn up to watch an old devil doll, nun, or exorcism, ever hopeful of stumbling across an inspired nugget of nastiness. The unleashing of scary films traditionally goes into overdrive in the run-up to Halloween, and this year is no exception. Fancy some English folk horror? Here are Matt Smith and Morfrid Clark as grieving parents digging into rural Yorkshire's pagan past, and Daniel Fugocito's Starve Acre. Perhaps Euro horror given that's a lot of R's. Perhaps Euro horror given an English language makeover is more your style. James Watkins' Speak No Evil, a remake of Christian Toftrup's 2022 Danish psycho thriller, stars Jane McAvoy and Aisling Franciosi, a chummy British couple who invite an American family they meet on holiday to spend the weekend at their lovely country house. But it will preserve the grim ending, like the Funny Games remake or Chicken Out, like Hollywood's The Vanishing. Horror's fingerprints are everywhere, not just in the Grindhouse and VOD, but in mainstream multiplex fare and critically adored art house hits. Deadpool and Wolverine shows an explicit telekinetic flaying. In Love Lies Bleeding, one character vomits up another in a steroid-filled hallucination. Horror tropes are no longer a barrier to films being nominated for awards. Andrew Hayes' All of Us Strangers is a ghost story. Yorgos Lanthimos' Poor Things leans heavily into Frankenstein imagery and mad scientist and brain transplants. In other end-of-the-scale, low-budget filmmakers regularly tweak horror formulas and dabble in experimentation, as can be seen in every August at Fright Festival in Lancashire Square, central London. Chris Nass, in A Violent Nature, recently rejigged the slasher subgenre, presenting a story from the mass killer's point of view. But this year, J.T. Molnar juices up the serial killer thriller with Strange Darling, which looks like to be this year's Barbarian. So you should avoid reading about it in advance if you want to savor in its destabilizing, non-linear narrative. And watch out for Joe DeBoer in Kyle McConaughey's Dead Mail, which parlays its 1980 small-town setting into a twisted tale of mad love, synthesizers, and the U.S. Postal Service. Oh God, the horror! Not the U.S. Postal Service! Of course, horror hasn't escaped the sequels, reboots, and IP recycling prevalent in other genres. Tim Burton's Beetlejuice revisits the afterlife of his 1988 horror comedy favorite. Low-end franchise lovers can choose between Hellboy, The Crooked Man, Smile 2, and Terrifier 3, and Stephen King's fans can look forward to another remake of Salem's Lot. But will the vampires be as frightening as the small boy scratching at the window in Tobe Hooper's 1979 miniseries? It remains to be seen whether Lady Gaga can disrupt the nihilistic incel trajectory of sociopathic Arthur Fleck and Todd Phillips' Joker, Folie à Deux. The R-rated trailer for Marvel's Kraven the Hunter promises bloodletting aplenty and features Russell Crowe, who was carving out a name for himself as an exploitative fixture. Meanwhile, Ridley Scott's sequels to Crowe's 1999 hit Gladiator is sure to serve up lashings of CGI splatter in the arena, and if it doesn't, we want our money back. And the chills keep on coming, with Robert Eggers' Nosferatu and Leigh Whannell's Wolfman hitting multiplexes early in next year. In the old days, horror was reviled as only a small step up from pornography. Now it is a force to be reckoned with. Reliably profitable, creatively flexible, and infinite in variety, from goth light to full-on gruesome. Paradoxically, it also provides a refuge from the real-life atrocities in the news. By placing the horror safely on screen, within storytelling boundaries, the genre encourages audiences to escape or confront their fears and anxieties if only temporarily, surmount them. Well, there's my shorter section there on horror, and all those films to check out if you want to get your horror fix this Halloween, really, because I know Halloween they're gonna be releasing a lot of horror films.
Yep, I think we've already transitioned to Halloween in the United States. It doesn't take long.
Yeah,
I think it's like, I don't even think they wait till Labor Day anymore. They're like, oh, let's put the Halloween decorations.
Did you see that? That leaf turned orange. Take out the pumpkins! The pumpkins aren't even grown yet. They're still green in the fields.
Well, some places they're grown.
Oh, okay.
Some people are ahead of the pumpkin curve.
They started plant their pumpkins in spring instead of in late autumn, like you're supposed to.
And don't forget the pumpkin spice will be broke out.
Right,
coffee. Whatever it's called. Nutmeg. The nutmeg.
Allspice.
Yeah. All right. So this day in history, August 26th, in the year 1071, Seljuk Turk forces under Alp Arslan vanquished the Byzantine army and captured the Emperor Romanus IV Diogenes at the Battle of Manzikert. There you go. A lot of
Arslan,
words I have trouble pronouncing.
He's famous.
Yeah, what is it?
Arslan. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. In 1346, during the 100 Years' War, the English, led by Edward III, defeated the French at the Battle of Crécy. And again, I ask, when did they start calling it the 100 Years' War? Was it the day after it ended? It couldn't have been while it was going on. Imagine being drafted at year 50 of the 100 Years' War. And it's like, God damn it, the 100 Years' War. We got 50 years of this shit. Anyway, 16... It might have been 100 years after the 100 Years' War they decided to call it that, probably. 1629 in this day, English Puritan stockholders of the Massachusetts Bay Company pledged to immigrate to New England under the terms of the Cambridge Agreement. That's right, in 1629, after Charles I dissolved Parliament, the mass immigration to the United States from England began. 1630 on to 1642, that was it. That's where most of my DNA got here. In 1883, the volcano Krakatoa in Indonesia began to erupt. 36,000 people were killed by the eruption and resulting tsunami.
God.
I shouldn't say most of my DNA. A lot of the contributors to it. But yeah, Krakatoa, a big old volcano. 36,000 people. Just basically, poof, gone.
Is there no warning?
1914, during the war. Yeah, they didn't have the early warning system back then. It was 150 years ago, roughly. 141 years ago. 1914, during World War II, the Battle of Tannenberg began, fought between the Germans and the Russians. Several days later, the German forces, led by Paul von Hindenburg and Erich Ludendorff, handed Russia its crushing defeat. Okay, it was crushed in 1914. Well, they recovered from that crushing. 1920, the 19th Amendment became part of the Constitution of the United States, giving women the right to vote. So, happy anniversary, 104 years ago, sorry. In 1936, the Anglo-Egyptian Treaty established Egypt as a sovereign state after 50 years of British occupation. So there you go. Egypt, we get to be its own country again. 1975, Ethiopian Emperor Haile Selassie died at the age of 83, possibly assassinated. He steered his country into the mainstream of African politics after World War II and oversaw its entrance into the League of Nations and the United Nations. Well, so Haile Selassie died on this day in 1975. Of course, the Rastafarian religion, founded on the basis of Haile Selassie being a a prophet.
Yeah.
1978, Albino Cardinal Luciani was elected Pope John Paul I, but he died of a heart attack 33 days later.
Wow.
33 days he got. Then we got John Paul II, who is Pope until like 40 years or something, right? Long time. 2015, American civil rights activist Amelia Boynton Robinson, an organizer of the Selma March, died at the age of 104. She was the organizer of the Selma March in 1965, which was a landmark event in the civil rights movement that led directly to the passage of the Voting Rights Act. So she lived a long life getting people their freedom. 2018, American playwright Neil Simon died. So that's a subject of our mic drop. Neil Simon, who was one of the most popular playwrights of the history of American theater, known for plays such as The Odd Couple and Biloxi Blues and several others, died at the age of 91. On this day, August 26th, 2018, 6 years ago. Our featured event, 1429, Joan of Arc, who arrived at the outskirts of Paris in preparation for attack on Paris, part of Charles VII's campaign to drive the English from French soil. Joan of Arc and her soldiers reached the city's outskirts on this day in 1429, but the assault eventually failed, ultimately failed. Our featured biography is Antoine Laurent Lavoisier, a French chemist who was born August 26, 1743 in Paris and died May 8, 1794 at the age of 50, also in Paris. Other birthdays, Antoine Lavoisier, I just mentioned him, so whatever, they put it right next to his picture again. Albert, Prince Consort of England, born in 1819, Prince Albert. Peggy Guggenheim, American art collector, born in 1998. Edward Witten, American mathematical physicist, born in 1951. And Melissa McCarthy, American actress. Happy birthday. She was born in 1970. She turns 54. Wow, she doesn't even seem that old. She didn't make it big till she was older in life.
Sometimes it happens that way, and that's why you should never say you're too old for something.
Don't tell Danny. He's definitely too old for this shit. That's from Lethal Weapon. Anyway, what day is it today? It's National Dog Day. It's National Dog Day, so be nice to your dog. If you're not nice to your dog, why do you have a dog?
Yeah, I mean, if you can't take care of your
National
dog, what
Women's
do? You give
Equality
it back
Day
to
is
the shelter
today.
and make sure it gets rehomed to people who can take care of it. Yeah, like Lily Allen.
That's right, and it's Dog Day. And it's National Women's Equality Day, which is because this was the day the women were given right to vote in the United States. National Cherry Popsicle Day. That'll turn your lips bright red.
Yeah, sure
National Westminstress Day. National Webminstress Day. I'm not sure. Webminstress means that somebody that's a female that knows how to use the internet. That's the way I see it. That doesn't get freaked out. Oh boy, I got to go into your BIOS file. Anyway. And it's National Got Checked Day, and it shows a girl reaching for her, I guess she's looking in the mirror, so it's her left breast. So I think it's about checking yourself for the breast lumps. I think that's what it's about. National Got Checked Day without clicking on it. I'm pretty sure, I'm just guessing, but yeah, that's what it looks like it's for. So those are your days for today, August 26, 2024, on Before Cherry Popsicles. Before the lips turn red.
Cherry is not my favorite flavor of, or artificial flavor really, because it's not real cherry. Real cherries are great. Artificial cherry, not a big fan. And you're right, it does make your
artificial
lips,
anything sucks.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
Like,
anyway.
Maybe as a kid, but I think it was just the sugar, not the flavor, you know? But it's been Allison here from the Netherlands, where it is warm again, thank God, because I was freezing to death last week. Because I was not ready for the weather to like instantly drop down to like 10 Celsius all of a sudden after it's been 30, you know? Just like 20 Celsius just disappeared into the air. And we are getting ready for Good News Day tomorrow, where we will cover all the good news stories we can find about this week and even maybe last week. So don't forget to subscribe, turn on this notification bell so you know when we go live and post a video. And let's go to our mic drop moment. It's the mic drop moment. Yeah.
Yeah. This is from the Neil Simon play, made into a movie.
What's happened?
Something made you go off the deep end like that. Now, what is it? Is it something I said or something I did?
Nothing you said. Now, don't stop me, Felix.
Oscar, what is it? Is it the cooking or the cleaning, the crying?
I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's the cooking, the cleaning, the crying. It's the talking in your sleep. It's those moose calls that open your ears at 2 o'clock in the morning. Can't take it anymore, Felix. I'm cracking up. Everything you do irritates me. And when you're not here, the things I know you're going to do when you come in irritate me. You leave me little notes on my pillow. Told you 158 times I cannot stand little notes on my pillow. We are all out of cornflakes, F.U. Took me 3 hours to figure out that F.U. was Felix Unger.
I love that one.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.